What's up? Welcome back to Nowstalgia. Dave here with a review of Sabrina Carpenter's 7th album, Short and Sweet. This is Sabrina Carpenter's really second album since leaving the Disney Channel mold following 2022's Emails I Can't Send. And unless you've been living under a rock, Sabrina Carpenter has become one of the most ubiquitous and popular faces when it comes to pop music. And before diving into that more, I'm just incredibly struck by what has happened, the past few months with pop music. In a year we got popular and well-liked albums to varying degrees from very established pop stars, including Taylor Swift, Beyonce, Dua Lipa, Ariana Grande, and even people, further down the spectrum with past success like Camila Cabello, who has driven culture and been at the forefront of pop music. It's been Sabrina Carpenter, Charlie XCX, and Chappell Roan. Nobody saw this coming. It's really remarkable. And of course, I talked about Charlie and Brat when that came out. Love that. Chappell Roan, looking forward to hearing what's next. But Sabrina has been probably the single most commercial and biggest of those three women. I can't help but find it fascinating that the other woman in the Olivia Rodrigo driver's license tea session, that person is now one of the biggest faces of pop. It's really mind-blowing to me. Of course, you want to point to Espresso breaking out in April following Sabrina's Coachella performance where she debuted it, but really this rise from Sabrina Carpenter began a little bit earlier, thanks in large part to who else? Taylor Swift. Sabrina was opening up for Taylor on the Eras tour for, I believe, the Latin American leg, and the custom outros that Sabrina would do for her big hit Nonsense would go viral. And it was really smart on Sabrina's part because, of course, the Taylor Swift fan base was really locked into the differences night to night on the Eras tour. And Sabrina basically made that part of her own performance or part of her own show. And I think was really able to capitalize that with getting a lot more attention on her music. And of course, Nonsense in and of itself had been her biggest hit to date, but not a massive hit. And it is a great song. And now I think it's really kind of belatedly become a really big, streaming song for her. And of course, then Espresso comes out in April. Of course, it's an instant smash, but to me, it's really funny and instructive about why that song works the way it does, because it's inherently silly. It's a song that immediately memeable. I'm working late because I'm a singer. It's that me espresso. The lines just flow in and into your head and never leave. It's pure earworm. And yet lyrically, it's silly. It is nonsensical, right? Shout out nonsense. It doesn't actually mean anything, but it's really, really fun. The idea that Espresso should have been a Dua Lipa song in terms of sentiment, in terms of vibe, in terms of what Dua is as an artist and what she represents. It's that really has stuck with me in the sense that Sabrina kind of grabbed that in a certain sense. There's definitely some Doja Cat in Espresso in terms of the delivery, in terms of the attitude as well, but the song really works. Obviously, I think that's probably the song of the summer, certainly top two and it's not two type thing, it's up there. Following that, of course, expectations get raised. A lot of people are paying attention. What happens? Sabrina Carpenter releases her second single in this album cycle, Please, Please, Please. And that song also becomes a massive hit. Espresso's over 1 billion streams on Spotify. Please, Please, Please is well on its way. I think realizing when Please, Please, Please became a hit instantly, there was no build or anything. I was oh, that's just a smash out of the gate. It's wow, we're onto something now. And that's another song where I think the meme quality, the lore, also very present. Sabrina's message, her stardom was really on point right now. You think of the line delivery Sabrina does when she says motherfucker on Please, Please, Please. It's invoking Dolly Parton, but it's very memorable because it's different from the rest of the song. Again, something that sticks with you, the earworm nature of it all. And with the music video leading into her relationship with actor Barry Keoghan, she's kind of establishing and leaning into having things for people to invest in. That's kind of something people have said about Dua recently, in the sense that there's not a lot of lore to lock into if that's something you care about. But if you care about something like that, there's a ton of that with Sabrina. And of course, it with the Olivia situation, it's predated this year. Long preamble aside, I think this was one of the most anticipated albums of the year, even if we wouldn't have been saying that at the beginning of 2024. But after those first two singles, a lot of attention was going to be on Short and Sweet. Given all the expectations, all the hype, all the ears ready to listen to this album, Sabrina Carpenter delivers with her 7th album, Short and Sweet. Following 2 massive singles earlier this year, Sabrina delivered with a full-length album, very much sticking to her core strength, delivering light yet catchy pop music. Sabrina, not the best vocalist in the entire world, but very much knows what her singing strengths are and leans into those, and just imbues tons of personality into her music that really makes you, I think, engage with her performance and her delivery. When you work with a absolutely A-list team of producers like Amy Allen, Julia Michaels, Jack Antonoff, and Ian Kirkpatrick, unsurprisingly, the album sounds great and sounds catchy. The next single and first song on the album, Taste, just write it down now, it's going to be a big hit. That much is obvious, but throughout the track list, I think there's a lot of songs to latch onto. I was particularly impressed with this song, Bedchem. I think more than anything, I'm just impressed with Sabrina Carpenter knowing exactly what her thing is right now and really nailing it, and you can't help but tip your hat. It was just, a year ago, 2 years ago, we were talking about how pop music wasn't minting new stars and it was the same people staying on the charts forever. And yes, those people are still around, but Sabrina is, in a sense, leading the way of like brand new pop star that I think has a long road in the A-list to come. And I heard a recent comparison about Sabrina Carpenter in the sense that she's basically like this decade's Katy Perry in a certain sense. Obviously, they're leagues apart vocally, and they're making very different music relative to their respective eras, but Sabrina is almost like the market correction of that because she is incredibly self-aware, which is kind of the opposite of the Perry situation. I just feel like they're kind of living in similar molds in terms of the type of music they're making, what the music is doing, what it's serving. Into the music itself a little bit deeper here. As I mentioned, track 1, Taste, it's going to be a big hit because I think the drums, the clap, immediately grab you production-wise, and the stickiness of the chorus is just so paramount. Again, like Sabrina Carpenter's earworm ability is really on one right now. Track 2 is Please, Please, Please. Banger. I really love the obviousness of it, but like the motherfucker line delivery, when I heard that for the first time, I was like, geez, like this is just excellent touch right there. Track 3, Good Graces. I also think this one is quite strong, very high tempo with some fun string flourishes, and once again, just a dynamite chorus. And I think throughout this too, like Sabrina Carpenter, not like a lyrical mastermind per se, but I think what's cool about her songwriting is that it's kind of in your face. Like she'll say stuff that's a bit frank, maybe a bit crass at times. She's certainly horny as shit on this album, but I think because it's so like in your face, and she's not afraid to say stuff, I think it kind of stands out and sounds better as a result. Sharpest Tool, it's a song that's a bit softer, a bit more of an acoustic rhythm, but then it kind of builds up. But because those lyrics are so direct, I still really engage with it. And Coincidence, showing a bit of variety on this, almost more of a folk song on here. And, later on in the album, you have Slim Pickens, which is basically a country pop song. I wasn't really expecting that much on here because you certainly don't get those vibes from a song like Espresso, that's for sure. I mentioned Bedchem. The drums are fire on this song, but the Sabrina quirks as a performer, as a writer, are on full display immediately. The delivery, again, standing out. Kind of the way she modulates her voice throughout the run of that song, very memorable, so catchy. And basically, what is this song? This is like a horny Ariana Grande song, in terms of when Ari would do that. And obviously, they're not comparable vocally, but like that's the vibe I'm getting, and that's a good vibe to get. I think the song is great. It's probably my favorite song on the album. I don't know, it's probably not a popular take. I think Taste is really grabbing people right now, but man, I think this is definitely the song I've listened to the most thus far. Dumb and Poetic, again, like I care less for the like more non-melodic fare. That's definitely her strength as a performer, but the writing was still there on a song like Dumb and Poetic, so it still has a lot of value. And I think a song like that, like it really builds to like Sabrina landing the lines, landing those memorable direct lines, and like because the song is kind of constructed around the writing, the fact that it's a bit, of a softer spoken song and like more instrumentally slight doesn't quite stand out as much in a negative sense. Juno is an interesting one for me because I think lyrically a lot to dig into, again, in terms of what she's saying. The drums come back in a welcome way. It has like this fast tempo on like the kind of like bridge section before the chorus, and that part is like super catchy. I love the instrumentation. I don't love the chorus quite as much. I think the song kind of slips away with that. The guitar outro is fun, but like that bridge, like that, like when I hear that, that's like instant earworm to me. And then the song kind of like leans away from it, and I was a bit disappointed, honestly. The second to last song, "Lie to Girls," is definitely my least favorite on the album. I think you could have got this one. Just a bit dull compared to the rest of the track list. And then, "Don't Smile" also wasn't like super into it in the beginning, kind of sleepy, but I think verse two kind of woke me up at least a little bit. But yeah, I mean, overall, I mean, short and sweet. Talk about an album that's correctly titled, both her diminutive stature and also the fact that it's only 36 minutes long. This album's a complete success, and I think not that this was necessarily in doubt given this album, but Sabrina's like in pole position to really like lock in on her career, and she's going to go on an arena tour. We're approaching the point where like she could push for even bigger arenas and bigger shows and higher ticket prices and stuff. And I think it's certainly going to be one of the hottest and most in demand live tickets, this fall once the tour really kicks off. But yeah, I mean, for someone who didn't really have a whole lot of thoughts about Sabrina Carpenter, I think like a lot of like Disney alums, I don't really pay attention to the early music career when they're in the Disney system. It's very similar to the early days of Selena Gomez. So in emails I can't send, like that was also that kind of like passed me by until I first came across Nonsense. But I think anyone who just got in this year, I mean, the ride is just beginning. It's pretty exciting because again, we've been wanting like new stars in pop for a while now, and it's pretty cool. Again, she's only 25, so her and Olivia, I think it's pretty fun from a tabloid perspective that they're going to be two of the leaders of Gen Z pop, which is pretty cool. But let me know, what did you think of Sabrina Carpenter Short and Sweet? Did you think the album was a big success like me? What was your favorite song? And for more music reviews, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.